Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I have several chronic illnesses like stage 3 kidney failure, PTSD, which is severe PTSD, manic depressive, anxiety, list goes on and on. Just a lot of things. Anyways, I've done a few videos now, and I guess I just pop on every once in a while when I get an idea in my head. So here's this idea. People don't see the side effects of chronic illness, and I don't mean just the pain or the fatigue that we finally let people see in our homes, when we're out and about, at the doctor's visits. The quiet everyday moments and the ways that it wears us down. I'm talking about me here, but if anybody can relate, one, I'm sorry, but two, I understand. And the other day, I took a shower, and it took me 45 minutes because I had a big rat's nest in my hair. And it's not that I didn't care. It's not that I didn't have people offering to help me. It's not because I was being lazy. It's simply because my body didn't have the capacity to do, simply just had the ability to get up and do whatever needed to be that day. And a quick hair washing wasn't a part of that. Brushing out my rat's nest in my hair wasn't a part of that. I'm not saying I didn't clean myself up, anything like that. Obviously, I did that. Hopefully everyone does that, knowing how important hygiene is. But taking a good shower, cleaning yourself up, those things are very important. It helps you feel more human. It helps you feel, more a part of yourself. You're not disconnected, sorry, drinking some coffee. But I hadn't washed my hair. I hadn't brushed it out. I just left it in the ponytail, did what I had to do. It went back, and the pain, I won't even begin to get into that. When I got out of the shower, it felt like I had did an arm day in the gym. My arms are still hurting. My neck, arms, all the way down. I have degenerate disc disease in my neck. My arms pop in and out of the joint real easily. Like I said, I have a lot of things. And while I'm sitting, because I can't stand through a whole shower, 3 years ago I can't now. All I could think about is, how could I let it get this far? How could I let it get this bad? And that thought, the blame, that's what I want to talk about today. Most people only see chronic illness when it looks dramatic, when we allow people to see the chronic illness, when it looks like what most people think chronic illness looks like in their head. How many times do we hear, oh, I didn't know such and such was going on. Oh, that person doesn't look. Not everything has a qualification. They don't see the slow decline, the avoidance that comes from the pain. Everybody has a life. Everybody has something that's going on. I mean, I don't expect, sorry, got to restore as a neighbor. I don't expect everybody in my life to just cater and be like, oh no, you're falling apart, you know. But nobody, unless you're going through it yourself, understands the isolation. People don't understand the way that small tasks start to feel impossible. For instance, taking a shower to do your hair. The shame that creeps in when your body doesn't cooperate. Brushing your hair isn't supposed to feel like a victory, but when you're chronically ill, it can feel like a momentum that pushes you to do other things. But sadly, it's also humiliating at the same time, because how could something such as a small task be so rewarding? And that's what's wild, is how quickly the blame turns inward, and not at the illness, and not at the system, and it's at yourself. The thought that I did this to myself, it's not random, it's conditioning. When your body is constantly in survival mode, you stay in that. And my body, my brain has been in that forever. I just graduated from EMDR therapy, and apparently I did something that very few, if any, have done. And I did 9.5 months of EMDR for 2 hours a week. I was blessed with an amazing therapist that hopped on my crazy train and helped me grab the reins of my train that goes 150 miles an hour, that I couldn't steer, I couldn't brake, I couldn't nothing. These thoughts just scrambled. And she gave me words to things that happened to me that I didn't have words to. And so with my past, with being in foster care, with all that, the years of trauma that I went through, the neglect, the chronic stress, the instability of my nervous system, it learned that all very well. And later on, it became my chronic illness. When you go 150 miles an hour for 30 plus years without stopping, and the medical system rarely explains it that way. Instead, they just treat the symptoms, and they don't figure out the holistic, meaning the whole body, mind, body, and soul. They're just isolating what you're going for. And you get lab results after lab results that say, well, this organ's fine, that organ's fine. But truly, they're not, because I have POTS. They just, for 22 years, they didn't know what POTS was. HEDS, again, another one. We were told we're just hyper flexible. You're a party trick. You're fine. Be okay with that. Now we're realizing, oh wait, no, that comes with a lot of other things. And I have a child with that. If I would have known some of these things while I was young, knowing that would affect future children of mine, I wouldn't take back my children for anything. But just knowing that, hey, this could be passed on, it would change some things. I have a degree in behavior science health with an emphasis on trauma. I graduated in June of 2025. Top 10% of my class. Didn't even know that I was till I got my degree. I graduated from Grand Canyon University. I'm just glad that it was an online school that I can go to. That's what I'll say about that. But I understand the science. I understand how stress hormones work. I understand how trauma rewires our brain and our nervous system. I understand how executive function collapses under chronic stress, and how I still struggle because knowing the science doesn't override the conditioning that I've done to my brain, that I've done to my body. Trauma teaches the body something very specific, and that's prioritizing something very, very specific, and that's survival. That's very deep in our core. That goes all the way down to the first mankind ever. They didn't worry about cleaning. They didn't worry about making sure everything was nice and tidy. They worried about where their next meal came from and that no predators were going to hurt them. That's it. That's what our brain is wired to do. And over the years, we haven't had to do it like our old ancestors, but that's the signals that our brain looks for. And when you're in constant survival mode, for whatever reason, your brain thinks that everything is a trigger. And it overrides, and sometimes it goes numb. Because it's like having alarms go off all the time, and eventually you ignore it and go back to sleep, right? You can only handle so much. And delayed care is because it was never safe or accessible before. And I got stories. So, before you start asking people, me, or anyone you hear about, well, why didn't you deal with it sooner? The real reason is because my body was doing exactly what it was trained to do. It's not failure, it's adaptation. So be nice. If you haven't walked in these shoes, you don't know a thing. So, where systems often reward early, neat systems punish complex, pathologizes trauma, responses moralize self-care as personal responsibilities. So, when chronic illnesses progress, the narrative becomes, you should have done more. You should have caught this sooner. You should have advocated better. But advocating requires energy, requires care and safety. Maintenance requires capacity. Those aren't evenly disputed across everyone. Some of us don't have the right insurance. Some of us don't have the ability because we live in rural areas. There's multiple reasons. Some of us aren't believed for many, many years. Today wasn't a breakthrough. Me taking a shower wasn't a breakthrough. It wasn't healing. It wasn't inspirational. It's what was necessary. I sat in the shower. I did the hard thing. I was exhausted. I was frustrated, and I still did it. Afterwards, I felt a little bit better. Not fixed, not renewed, just slightly more human. Again. And that's what counts. We talk about resilience like it's something shiny, but real resilience often looks like doing uncomfortable things, like avoiding care for a body you're angry at. I'm so angry at my body. It's the only thing that I've ever been able to count on is myself. And people can get mad that know me, but if you know my story, you know that I'm the only thing that I've ever been truly able to count on is myself. Now I have my husband of 18 years, and I am still learning to count on him. But again, trauma does a lot to you. But back to resilience. Meeting yourself where you actually are and not where you would like to be or think you should be at today. So if you're feeling off today, overwhelmed, behind, disappointed in your body, or ashamed of how long something has gone undone. Try doing one thing. Just one thing. If it's picking up a piece of trash, if it's throwing on a movie that you've been wanting to see, or learning about something. Lord knows we've not been taught a lot. Just do one little thing. You'll be surprised what a difference it makes. And I'm learning it's okay to be angry at the body that you're in. You just can't shut down.